First, welcome everyone to the State of International Tourism. I know this is a much awaited for webinar each and every year where we get to hear some really fantastic information from our industry partners abroad. I'm particularly excited to hear about some of the trends and what your thoughts are on how to best attract the visitor for this coming year. So as always, this webinar will be recorded. It'll be posted on the website later, hopefully today. And we will also do our best to answer for Q&A. If you have a question, please put it in the Q&A section. I am not going to promise that we will have an opportunity to answer at the end because this is so jam-packed. But if there are questions, I will get answers and shoot that out to everyone after the webinar is over. So don't be discouraged if we run out of time because we will absolutely get those answers back to you. So I am truly just going to jump in. My name is Carrie. I am Director of Product and Sales for Discover New England. In my Brady Bunch box directly below me is Michele Cota, who is our Executive Director. And then all of the rest of the Brady Bunch is representing UK, Ireland, Germany, and Brand USA. So we really have such a fantastic group today. And we are actually going to start off with Chelsea and Jonas from Brand USA. I'm going to give you guys the floor first so you can talk about national trends and travel, and then we'll move into regional, and then we'll move into abroad. Thanks, guys. Take it away.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. It's great to be here with everybody. So thank you, Michele and Carrie, for having us. Sorry, I lost my mouse here. My name is Chelsea Sullivan Kaiser. I am the Senior Manager of Partner Engagement here at Brand USA. So I am now the day-to-day account manager for the cities and states in the Northeast region. So you all previously worked with my counterpart, Danny Campana. We've done some internal reorganizing. So Danny now oversees the Southeast area, and I oversee the Northeast. So I think I have hopefully met a good amount of you at this point, but if not, please reach out to say hi. I would love to chat with you. And I will also be at the D&E conference this year. So looking forward to seeing you all in person. I have a very busy one-year-old son at home as well. So D&E is going to be a luxury vacation for me. I'm very excited. I am also joined today by my colleague, Jonas Onkelinx. He is our Director of Research and Insight. So I'm going to do a quick overview just to start of what Brand USA is working on right now. And then I'll let Jonas walk us through the latest in overseas visitation and what trends we're seeing for the coming year. So first and foremost, as of the end of October, Brand USA is now live in market with our international marketing campaign called America the Beautiful. So of course, it is no secret that it has been a strange year for international tourism. And, we've all had to be really dynamic and much more thoughtful with our marketing approach. So, of course, instead of just going out with a big splash and seeing what sticks, we are really making sure that we are engaging with the right consumer and, someone who is interested in visiting the US, someone who has interacted with our content before, someone who's, consuming US content, or someone who's actively planning a trip. But, certainly being mindful of somebody who is receptive to hearing the America the Beautiful message. So currently, I always think this is important for partners to see, but we are currently live in these 9 markets. So, of course, as the campaign is going, we are, we're actively watching engagement and performance and making adjustments as we go. But notably, you might see that Canada is not currently on this list. So I do just want to call that out. Brand USA is still very active in the Canada market. So this specific campaign is not live there at the moment, but, of course, Canada is still a huge inbound market for the US. So we have an always-on social media strategy there, actively working on both the PR and the trade side of things. And then most importantly, we still have our partner programs that are live in the Canada market, where the messaging is led by our state and city partners, which is just, again, better received there at the moment. So wanted to note that just since that's an obvious absence there from that list. So, in tandem with the launch of our new campaign, we have also launched our new website, which has been a long time coming. So, we are thrilled that that's underway. We're redeveloping all of the content onto the new site. So, that's an ongoing process. But all the states and most of the major cities currently have refreshed and live pages that you can take a look at today. So, and many partners, are already participating in our partner programs that are actively driving to this page as well. And then, of course, our campaign is all driving to the new site. So the most notable thing about the new site is how integrated AI is into it. So the site is really built around a Mind Trip AI trip planner. So from almost every page on the site, the consumer can engage with that AI planning tool. So you can discover more things about the destination. They can ask questions, create itineraries. So not only is it meant to inspire potential travelers like the old site did, but it's really designed to drive that consumer further down the funnel and get them to actively, start planning that trip. AI translations have also made the site a lot more user-friendly, much more dynamic, since all those translations can be done in real time. And then there are also new interactive maps on this website. So that just helps the consumer kind of give a sense of place, understand what those main entry points are, and then makes it easier to browse, what else is nearby. Of course, we know that, a lot of international visitors tend to do multi-state itineraries. So just helps them kind of understand where they'll be entering and where is easy to get to. So there are a few quick partner resources that I want to include here. And, certainly if anybody has any questions, please reach out to me and we can chat further. But a few quick things. We have we are always accepting video and photo assets from our partners. So, whether that's for use in our campaigns or on our, social media pages, you can always upload assets through that website there. So if you have things you want to share, please do. We also have our global communications team. They want to be in the loop about whatever it is you have going on in your destination. So, of course, you can always go through me if you need to. You can also send any updates or press releases directly to press@thebrandusa.com. And then lastly, we have a new partner portal that's really meant to be a one-stop shop for our Brand USA partners. So if you have participated in a Brand USA program, you can view the status or you can view campaign results once it's wrapped. You can also find trade activity, lots of research data, that's all housed there. And then any general upcoming Brand USA opportunities will be on there as well. So again, if you have not logged on before, I can certainly help you with that. So that is all for me. And, again, if there are any questions, I know Carrie will be looking at the chat. So thank you all again. And then I will turn it over to my colleague Jonas, who will talk to us about US visitation.
All right, thank you, Chelsea. Yeah, if you've been paying attention to anything in the news regarding international travel to the United States, it'll come as no surprise that arrivals from Canada are down. Looking at the latest data we have from NTTO, it shows that arrivals through October of 2025 are down by 22%, which is almost 4 million fewer Canadians than in 24. On the other hand, we have Mexico up by 10%, more than a million additional Mexican visitors in just 10 months. So that's great. And looking at overseas, we're down by just 3%. So overseas is doing quite well. But of course, in New England, we're closer to Canada than we are to Mexico. So we're feeling that impact of Canadian travel much stronger. Looking at overseas arrivals, here we have data for the whole year, just released this week. The UK remains our number one. They're actually up by just 1%. India, number two, down by 6. But India's coming off of 2 record years of visitation. They set a 2.2 million record last year, and they're 40% above their pre-pandemic visitation. So even though they're down, they're coming from a different place than most of these other markets. We do see some European markets like Germany and France that are down significantly. But on the other hand, we have Italy and Colombia in our top 10 who set new visitation records in 2025. Both are up 5%, and total overseas visitation is down by just 2% for 2025. And I know we have Ireland here joining us as well. They're ranked 16th and they're pretty much flat, down less than 1% in 25. Looking ahead, we expect if we include Mexico and Canada arrivals, we expect to get to 68 million visitors this year. That is down 6% from 2024. It's down significantly. Several things have happened that caused this. But earlier in 25, back in March, we expected it to be much worse at about 65 million. So Tourism Economics, the source for this, they've added almost 3 million visitors back into the forecast because things did not turn out to be as bad as initially expected, even though we're not happy to see these numbers. But then looking ahead at 26 and beyond, we see growth every single year. And of course, with next year, we have some major events coming up. Tourism spending is at a record level. This is still showing 24, the last full year we have at 254 billion in total, a 12% increase over the year prior. But even this year, with visitation down, we are still at growth. We have data through September, which shows that spending by international travelers is up by just 1%, but with arrivals down, that's certainly good news. And average daily spend is at about $700 million per day. That spend is kind of uneven across different markets. You have markets like China and Australia who are really big spenders. But then, of course, for New England, markets like the UK and Germany are more important in visitation. These markets are closer in terms of travel time. So on average, they do stay shorter than some of these other overseas markets. Their average spend may be low, but they do have high repeat visitation. So on a per traveler basis, if you take into account how often they visit, it's definitely a very solid number. Looking at New England specifically, as a region, we would rank seventh among states in terms of visitation. For 2024, that's 4.2 million visitors. Massachusetts, of course, is the biggest one in terms of visitation. They would make the top 10. Then we have Maine, Vermont, and Connecticut ranking neatly 29, 30, and 31st. New Hampshire is 33rd, and then the small state of Rhode Island is still 43rd in terms of arrivals in 2024. Our top inbound markets are, of course, Canada. We have three states sharing a border with them. Almost 2 million Canadians in 24. It's down quite a bit in 25. And then we have the UK and India, the top two overseas markets for the US as a whole as well. So that is the same. We do have then China, Germany, France, Brazil, Mexico, Italy, and South Korea. It's kind of in 2025 a mix for all of these markets. Some of them are up, some of them are down. But overall, the picture is mostly influenced by Canadian visitation being down. Looking at airlift to New England, we know that most of it is into Logan Airport. Overall, for the US, we are at record levels in 25. Airlift from more than 100 different countries, 160 plus million nonstop seats from almost 270 different airports in the world. Looking at New England, we do have great connectivity as well. We have flights from 60 airports from 40 different countries for a total of almost 6 million seats in 2025. You'll see that on the next slide. And we do see connectivity continuing to increase. We're up 6% in 2025 in terms of nonstop airlift. Most of that is into Boston. We do have some flights into Providence as well, but it's kind of limited. And then for 2026, we do have one new flight coming from Nice in France to Boston. This is a total picture. So we have a lot of airlift from or to the Caribbean, from Europe, a lot of connectivity, some South America, and a couple of flights from Asia. And of course, Canada remains a major market both for air and land arrivals. Seat
Perfect.
capacity has kind of a seasonal pattern into New England. It peaks in summer, with August being the highest typically. Looking at 2025, that is showing a 6% increase over 24. It's all well above pre-pandemic levels, but the top line here is showing 2026 airlift. And the good news is for 2026, with the currently available schedules, we're 8% above 25. So we're not only doing a lot better in terms of airlift, seat capacity, and connectivity than we do compared to pre-pandemic levels, we're continuing to grow. 24 was great, 25 was better, and 2026 has record seat capacity. So this is very briefly what we see in terms of international visitation to the United States and connectivity. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonas. Appreciate it. Phew, I know 10 minutes goes really, really fast, guys, doesn't it? So next, I'd like to introduce Michele Cota, who is Executive Director for Discover New England. Yeah.
All right, it actually worked today. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Carrie. This is so helpful to hear from Chelsea and Jonas and for what the United States is experiencing. And I just want to reiterate how important of a partner Brand USA is for all of us in New England. We do work as a partner with them. We buy into their campaigns, and they've been so wonderful with the America the Beautiful campaign on upgrades to their website, improvements to the New England projects, and itineraries and imagery and so forth. So thank you so much to both Chelsea and Jonas for always supporting New England. Um, so I also want to point out that I know Chelsea said she's going to be with us at the upcoming Discover New England Summit this April in Burlington, Vermont. And I know that we'll have some of our colleagues there as well. And you'll hear some additional presentations and have the opportunity to spend some time with Chelsea and her team at that event as well. Um, yeah, so I'm not going to take a ton of time. I wanted to take about 5 minutes or so. I never stick to my time frame, so don't be surprised if I go a little over. I want to take a few more minutes to zoom in a little bit more on New England. I know Jonas did set the framework for a lot of the lift that's been coming into Boston, and I think one of the big points I want to make is just how resilient the international market is for the United States and for New England. The demand does stay steady, even with some challenges that we've been encountering over this past year in terms of policy, in terms of visa bond requirements and so forth. The demand is strong for the United States and for New England, and it is a very resilient market. So looking specifically into the UK, or to the markets that we're involved with, I'm not going to go into the UK, Ireland, or Germany in this my few minutes presentation, as we have our very best experts with us today to share those updates for you specifically. So what I wanted to show you here is that if you look at the column on the left, these are all we work with tourism economics for our research, and the gray are from the overseas visitors and the blue are the Canadian arrivals. And you could see a little bit of a 26 forecast information as well as some historical data using 2019 as the benchmark. And if you look at the chart to the right, this is all arrivals into so far into New England as of November for calendar year 2025. So I want to point out that we are tracking 2.8% down from the year prior. As you heard, the USA is tracking about 3% down in terms of overall arrivals. So we're slightly a little bit more of a share of those arrivals are coming into our region. And I also want to point out that the volume of arrivals still have a way to go from where they were in 2019. You could see that we're about 72% of what we used to have for 2019 arrivals. And I want to point out that the biggest culprits for that really are the Chinese market being so far impacted, as well as the Japanese market, which the Japanese market and the Korean markets are showing some good signs of improvement overall. So it is ticking up ever so conservatively. Spend in 2025 by overseas travelers, it's over what it was in 2019 by 4%. So the spend is very, very, very healthy. I do that. Okay. So the numbers on the right that I just put up here are the FIA arrival survey data. I love the first intended address reports. This is managed by the National Travel and Tourism Office, and also shared and managed by Customs and Borders Protection and Homeland Security. And their actual reportings by arrivals for where they will stay their first night of their trip. And this tells us that a greater share of the travelers from a number of markets, they're prioritizing their holiday in New England or beginning here instead of tagging us on to another part of the United States. So these numbers do show a little bit of a better story for New England. I also wanted to look at the chart below. I know you saw a good chart of airline lift into Boston. When we look at overall arrivals, I think one of the benefits with this industry is how even though there is a lift in the summer for arrivals, it is definitely a much more of a level line than you would see for domestic travel. And we are seeing, if you look at the orange line, which is 2025, it is slowly ticking up in that January to May timeframe, more of the off-season shift. So we're starting to see a little bit more of that. And we're also getting a lot of that request in terms of content that people are asking for, itineraries. What are some ideas that you have that may be in part in some markets driven by rates? Sometimes our rates in the summer tends to be pretty high for a number of different markets, and they do look at shifting demand in other times of the year. But again, that's a good story for New England. We want to have that demand distributed throughout different seasons as well as throughout the region. So this is just a big screen grab of one of my dashboards that Tourism Economics creates. It was just many different data reports that they provide. And when I tell you I live in these reports, I'm not joking. They are so valuable, and they are at the same measures that are used at the national level with Brand USA. So this is, again, just one of the many reports that's available to us. And what I want to point out in this slide is the forecast data. If you were to ask us and almost every tourism researcher at the end of 2024 and what 2026 was going to look like for arrivals, it would have had the arrivals line in the upper line graph above the 2019 benchmark. It was really growing at a double-digit rate. It was very, very strong. So with a lot of policy change, it went to I wouldn't say a stop, it went to a screeching flat. So it is, so they're still coming, but that tremendous growth is now looking like it's going to have a more of a conservative growth rate ticking upwards into the foreseeable future. So again, we talked about spend, and that does tell a good story, because that's that economic impact into our economies that we want to have. So I also wanted to talk about I know this is something that may not be the best story, but I definitely want to be transparent with everyone here, that looking at world data, global data for tourism, and I know I follow the World Tourism Organization's projections quite a bit, and we're actually, the US as a whole is behind compared to other destinations in the world, as the global market size for international travelers is growing fast. That means there's a lot more technology available for people to move around the world. There's a lot more flow of information for planning and researching and getting access to rates and so forth. International travel is getting easier, and the amount of people who have the ability to travel internationally is growing. And it's expecting to have that continued increase at about 11% into this coming year. So it is growing globally. And I know that in total, it's expected to, by 2035, it's projected to have about a $16.5 trillion global economy just in international travel. So it is going quite a bit. So the work that Brand USA is doing to make sure that we maintain that share, the global share, and we're competitive at a global level, is just so critical in this fast changing world right now. So I applaud their team and their important work that they do. So again, we anticipate international travel will be at its highest level globally, but as a whole, New England, we are holding pretty strong, especially in terms of spend. So let's see. So these are some of the important markets I wanted to point out to you. We have, especially looking at the story that Mexico and Brazil are showing in terms of continued ongoing growth, about 3.7 to 4.2%. Those markets, which I'll show in the next graph, you'll see that they come more evenly throughout the year. The UK, again, 4% is a very strong growth rate, as well as Korea and Japan for New England, looking at about 10 to 11% aggregated growth rate for the next 3 years. So like I said, they're going to be continuing their growth. I also want to mention that Mexico and Ireland are the two markets that actually, their arrivals into New England are above what they were in 2019. So they do tell a very good story, and they just are growing beyond what they've ever been for our region. So I think this is my last chart, so I'll quickly breeze through this. But what I like to see in this chart is the blue to be, the color to be evenly spread in all the months, instead of having it all concentrated into a specific time of year. And this is where I mentioned how well Mexico and Brazil and other Latin American markets do when it comes to coming throughout the year and spreading the demand, as opposed to being concentrated in a very specific time of year. plus their propensity to rent a car and tour throughout the region. That's an experience they crave and demand on trips because that's not necessarily what they can do in their home countries due to whether it's infrastructure or safety reasons or so forth. It's just much harder to get in your car and leave, some of these big cities in Latin America and go hiking and have freedom of movement. So we have quite a bit to offer, and we're seeing that in terms of growth in arrivals and arrivals throughout the year. So I think just a real quick feedback that we had a busy November travel schedule. We've been getting feedback from around the world from Brand USA Travel Week, which was incredibly successful. The show that we did in the Netherlands beforehand, we've done trainings in Japan. We did, our team at Get It Across, who's on here today, hosted an incredibly packed, amazing sales mission in Germany. So we've done quite a bit to pull in feedback. And what we've been hearing is that there are a number of folks that are, that even though they're, looking at a number of different changes, the shock from the headlines that happened around January, February, March of 25 seems to be wearing off. And we're all hoping for no more major headlines that would affect travel, such as things like so-and-so being detained at the border or so forth. But what we're finding is that in some way, in some markets, a lot of the operators are saying that there's a bit of a news fatigue setting in, which is actually good for tourism. The dollar exchange is actually becoming more affordable for a number of folks, particularly from traveling from using the euro or the pound coming into New England, which does make us more affordable as a destination. I don't want to say comparably, the New England, the report people are saying, yes, it's getting more affordable, but New England is known for being a little bit pricier compared to other parts of the United States. And there's been some feedback from clients that they're paying these high prices at certain seasons. Their concerns is that the services may not be matching that price expectation. So it's, I think that's one thing I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of that's on this call is that that's some of the feedback we've been receiving. It's not across the board. It's just from certain companies speaking generally. We've been getting a lot more requests and growth and focus from a lot of companies that we're working with and journalists for more bespoke touring itineraries and experiences, as well as that exclusive and cultural experience. So like the private chef experience, the private garden tour, those types of sale experience, meet and greets, you name it. And then the last point I want to make that we've been getting a lot of feedback from is that the lead times have been getting longer in almost all markets that we've been talking to, which means they need product in the pipeline sooner, which means they need the contract sooner. So this is a very important point I wanted to bring up to all of you that if possible, if you can have your rates or you can get the dynamic contracts in place, which gives you a lot of flexibility, please work with your supply chain partners on this and make sure you sign those contracts more than a year in advance if you can. So to wrap it up, we do have some big news that's coming for New England in 2026, and this has created a lot of positive conversations and a lot of excitement, especially in the terms of editorial and newsletter pushes to current clients who are coming over this way. So looking at the FIFA World Cup, having matches from Scotland, Norway, England, France, and also the match for third place will be hosted here in New England. It's going to just repeat big, awesome headlines around the region, an opportunity for us to host watch parties and promote the region's other sporting activities. The America 250 and Sail 50 and Sail Boston, of course, are getting international headlines. And we are still working in design. We have launched some of the itineraries and write-ups. We're pulling image galleries together for a Dark Skies and Natural Spaces program in collaboration with our Canadian partners in Quebec. And this is already being sold to operators around the world through our partner, John View. And we will have a number of campaign components to follow. And then I know we mentioned some of the new flights. Just real quick, I know Delta is about to launch Boston and Madrid. And to Nice, and JetBlue has some new flights going into Barcelona and Milan as well, which will be a big talking point for Carrie next week in Italy. So with that, I will wrap it up and thank you so much.
Thanks, Michele. Appreciate it. Yeah, Italy's coming right around the corner and we're super excited. This will be the first mission we're doing there. So yeah. Next, I would like to introduce Andreas and Anna, who are here from Get It Across. As Michele said, I've just now recovered from the sales mission that we went on with Andreas, because he makes us move and we meet with a ton of people and it's absolutely amazing. So every year we really get the most out of Germany. Believe it, it's crazy and it's awesome fun. So with that, I turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you so much, Michelle, and also lovely colleagues from Brand USA. Thank you so much for having me here, and I'm very happy to give you an update about our markets compared to when we spoke last, which you've certainly been attending. So everyone who loves statistics, please show up your hands so we continue with this statistics play. So, and I hope that there's gonna be no kind of contradictions to what we've been doing before or listening before. So, first of all, like the German travel market, how it's developing and how things have changed since we spoke last in 2025 at the beginning of the year. So, in 2024, we had an increasing amount of trips of 5 days or more. So this is increasing. I really try to just kind of make it easier to be visible with all those arrows and equation marks. So and also the volume of people being traveling over 5 days is increasing. The average time of or the average amount of trips per person is still 1.2, so this remains stable. And of course, we also love our own country. We have 28 days of paid vacation in Germany, and this is also being spent in Germany itself. So we have around 200 million arrivals of Germans in Germany. So this is still very popular for many Germans too. Our market is also very stable when it comes to a distribution perspective. So we still have 2,300 tour operators. So there's a typo here, and 8,000 travel agencies. And those 8,000 travel agencies make like 50% of the tour operator product distribution, with 300 million people working in our industry. When it comes to international arrivals to Germany, this is the latest update. So in 2024, we were only like 3% short compared to 2019, and we had an increase of 0.5 arrivals from the US. The reason why I'm showing this to you is important because if the people are coming to Germany, they also need to return. So this is a huge requirement in order to keep airfare or air connections economic, and this also remains stable while our international movement, like via the airports, is still increasing. So as you can see, Frankfurt was growing by 3.7%, and Munich is growing heavily. So this is the latest development at the airports in Germany. When it comes to the airlift over to Boston Logan International Airport, it's still as stable as it was in the year before. But again, here also I want to highlight that also other airports like New York City or even Washington Dulles, they're very relevant for us too. If we have a look at the product that's being distributed by the tour operators over here in Germany, they also have like combinations with Philadelphia, with Washington DC, with New York. So all those are also very relevant for us, with still, of course, Boston being the most important hub for German travelers to enter New England. When it comes to the travel expenditure, this keeps also on increasing. So we are a very huge export nation when it comes to industrious goods. We are a very huge import nation when it comes to travel product, in a way that we have a surplus of 75.9 billion euros that are more spent than what Germany is recording in revenues with people coming over to Germany. So we are really pushing out the euros over to the US, for instance, and this is very important for you to see that the Germans are very eager to travel, and this is what they are spending abroad. When it comes to the international destinations that are most relevant for the German traveler, this is kind of a nice map that showcases that. So from all the traveling in Germany, or from Germans, 23.6% is towards Germany. The rest is abroad, with 7% roughly over to long haul destinations, including the US. So this number has slightly decreased. The area that was benefiting from that was primarily the Mediterranean area, but still we are very stable here, which also applies to the visitation to New England from the Germans. Last year, we have reached almost 2 million again, but back in 2024, it was a little less than that. We had like around 155,000 visitors to New England. So this goes more or less in the line with the statistics that were shared before. Which I'm very happy about. So we have more or less the same sources and not talking about like different numbers. When it comes to the market structure, it's very important to highlight that we are still very much into the collaboration with tour operators and travel agencies. So around like 40% of the trips are being booked via tour operators in Germany. So this is a huge difference over here in our markets. Travel agency differs from being a tour operator heavily in a way that there's like the package tour law that's applicable for tour operators. So whenever there's going something wrong with any of the included travel products booked, the tour operator remains liable. And this is also the reason of the Germans booking via those tour operators, because they don't like the risk. They don't want to put their travel or their holidays on a fence, and therefore they still stick to the tour operators. And again, around 50% of the tour operator product is being distributed via travel agencies, which you can also see on the right side. Also here, the expenditure in million euros at tour operators and travel agency keeps on rising. Interestingly, around like 1/3 of the trips booked via travel agencies are business trips, which is certainly also important for our market, of course. When it comes to the D&E activity, the activities that we're executing on behalf of D&E over here in Germany, we are very active. So we are in constant contact with all those tour operators that are so valuable and important for us, and undertake training sessions. We are in contact with them in order to undertake product development and also see about any trends that are important, or also just like some kind of consumer sentiment. They are more or less our connections to the consumers. So this is for us kind of comfortable to get those sentiments out of the market. We have executed 4 joint marketing campaigns in our past fiscal year, and have been also active in a way that we were approaching to the travel trade via our own channels, but also via Visit USA, which is a very important partner over here in Germany. Right now, we have 175 members at Visit USA Germany. So this is huge. They have a very valuable resource for all the members. So very important to mention that here too. Carrie was just mentioning our sales missions. They are pretty, I would say pretty back to back, pretty busy. In Germany, all the tour operators are scattered all around the country, so we need to make sure that we are getting from A to B quite quick. So this is why we are using the Autobahn and are being on the fast lane. Always safe, always happy, some music on. But we really need to go through the country in order to see the people, to maintain our relationships, to foster them, and to also proceed when it comes to our product development and also give further inspiration. When it comes to the different activities that we're also executing along with our lovely friends at Brand USA, it was with America Unlimited, Mesoreisen, and also America Journal. So we used to have, or we are having a visitor guide for New England, also in German language, but this was not available physically, so not a tangible brochure. So therefore, we had like this huge project, which just turned out amazing, along with America Journal, and also distributing those visitor guides along with the travel trade in Germany at consumer shows, for instance. So just in a nutshell, I hope it was not too many statistics, and now I'm very happy to just send over to my colleague Anna, who's gonna introduce you to our activities on the media side in Germany.
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. Yeah, so in the past financial year, 52 articles were published that resulted from our activity, and the value of this coverage amounts to $1.72 million. Moreover, New England hosted 4 journalists on 3 press trips, which has already resulted in substantial coverage. You can take a look at our other media activities maybe later on. But now I'd like to take a look at the current trends we are seeing in the German media landscape. So next slide, please. Thank you. In the past year, there has been lots of negative coverage on the current US administration in German-speaking countries. German citizens being detained and denied entry to the US, the protests against ICE, and the administration's statements regarding Greenland, etc., have been making headlines in the German media, creating a general concern whether it's still safe to travel to the US. And of course, this negative image makes it harder for journalists to sell articles about the US. We've heard from some journalists that they won't travel to the US in the near future and will wait until things have calmed down. However, despite all these challenges, there are, of course, still journalists that do want to visit and that are publishing positive articles about their travel experience. So topics that are performing particularly well right now are culinary, luxury travel, outdoor adventures, and road trips. And we've also seen that there was quite a lot of interest in our press release on America 250 events taking place in New England this year. We are also noticing the ongoing and exacerbating trend of editorial offices closing and few newspapers having their own travel section. But at the meantime, digital content by content creators and bloggers is becoming increasingly important. So travel content still remains highly relevant. There are just more channels used to distribute it, which the tourism industry needs to take into account. Another trend lots of people are talking about is the use of AI in travel planning. And that's definitely something to support people in their planning and decision making. But we still definitely see that people still seek advice and inspiration from real credible human sources as well. So all in all, we're optimistic about the future. The US remains Germany's most popular long-haul destination. So fundamental interest is definitely still intact. And we think that once media attention is no longer overly politicized, there will be increased interest in press trips and more travel coverage again. So I'll hand over to Andreas again now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna. So, and also when it comes to the trade developments over here, and I was just mentioning about the decrease that we have been seeing last year. So they were just published, as Jonas was also telling about. It was like 10 or 11%. And to New England, it's quite interesting what we are hearing from the tour operators. So while the absolute amount of visitors going to the US seems to be decreasing, the relative market share of New England as a region is increasing. Reason being that New England is rather like a tier 3 destination. So it's not like, first timers are not going to New England usually. Of course, we're working on that in order to make this happen. But usually the people are going to New York City, to Florida, or to the Southwest on the first trip to the US. Now, with all those loyal visitors from Germany towards the US, always trying to see something new, the likelihood of our relative market share increasing rises. So this is something that I'm very excited about to see in how far this is going to be the case. But according to our contacts in the German travel market, this seems to be the case. When it comes to the booking pattern, fall is becoming more and more popular. So more and more Germans are tending to stay at home during those long summer school vacations and instead shift their big vacation, the main vacation over to fall. So this is a development that we are seeing here because of all those headlines that are coming in here that are unfavorable for our market. The bookings sometimes or increasingly are more less in advance booked. So there's like two different things. So the one that Michele mentioned, it's important to have product ready to be booked for all the people that really like to book way in advance in order to secure everything. On the other side, we see that there's also increasing amount of people, especially the ones that are potentially just trying to have like some kind of a short vacation. They book less in advance because of the headlines that are going on. Canada is right now, for many of the specialist tour operators for North America over here in Germany, more important as a destination because of all the circumstances. When it comes to FIFA, the majority of the US traveler from Germany tries to avoid this time frame because of a fear that they are going to end up in high prices, because they don't want to be like with too many international travelers at the same spot. We have one potential game, I say potential game, in Boston with Germany in case we are going to succeed to become number one in our group. So fingers crossed that we are going to make it, so that the Germans are going to play in Boston. And this is, of course, going to affect the visitation over to New England positively, but it's still kind of a question mark. Also, whether the people are going to end up having tickets to attend those games. Of course, market regulation is always important to be observed and to see. So in case visitation or demand is decreasing, of course, the market is going to react, and it could be that lower prices are going to drive a visitation to the US and also to New England, of course, a bit more again. Our recommendation for you is that it's imperative for us to be able to provide images to the German travel trade so that it becomes easier for them to share inspirational content along with their audience. This is very important. So if you want to approach to Carrie in order to provide those images, ideally royalty free, then it would be a huge support for us. The elaboration of itinerary suggestions. So DNE has been elaborating 14 of them. We have translated them and also provided for the German travel trade to retrieve it from our website so that they can just use it for inspiration and also to work on the itineraries of the clients. The download amount is just skyrocketing. We're observing that. It's fantastic. It's important for us that we still keep on educating the travel trade on our destination, use the momentum or seize the momentum, and just like say we are here and we remain active and we have like an authentic destination with many USPs. This is also what we always should be highlighting. When it comes to the messaging or to the topics that should be shared, ideally culinary and sports. This is like where kind of love unites the world. And this is something that should be focused on opposed to becoming political. So never become political by any means, even though if we say, okay, New England is usually a blue state area, not a red state area. This is something that we should always try to avoid to say by any means. So that's it from our side. Thank you so much for your attention. And hope to see you in Burlington quite soon. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Andreas. I appreciate it. Next, we are going to go over to Tony Lane with Woodstock Communications, who is our year-round representative in Ireland. And I will quickly say that Tony, Duncan, and Caroline are seeing a delegation from New England in June for our sales mission, and there are still some open spots on that mission. So let me know if you'd like to have a conversation about it. And with that, Tony, on to you.
Thank you very much, Kerry. Hi, everybody. Tony Lane here. I'm Discover New England's representative in the Irish market. I've got 10 minutes to give you guys just a very brief update about what's going on. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I do in terms of activities on the behalf of Discover New England. We'll take a little look at the kind of visitation stats for the USA from Ireland and how they're holding up. We'll take a little look at the kind of activities that Irish visitors want to do on a trip to New England, a little bit about buyer profiles and that, and then I'm going to close out with a few pointers about how to get the best out of the Irish market. So very quickly, in terms of what we do, very, very high level explanation. I am both the trade and media person in the Irish market. So both aspects of engagement in the Irish market. And absolutely, I mean, what we are trying to do is drive visitation from to New England from Ireland. That underlines absolutely everything that we do in terms of our engagement with the trade and the media. On the trade side, we've got, we're in regular contact with all the main tour operators and travel agencies on the island of Ireland. So full program of sales calls to the product developers, the heads of marketing, the MDs, to keep them updated on what's going on and new and happening in New England. We've got a full program of training to make sure that counter staff, sales staff, have the information and inspiration that they require to be able to sell the region with confidence. We help the travel trade develop product. So, if a tour operator doesn't already have New England product, we encourage them to do it. We back that up with joint marketing campaigns to increase the presence of New England in markets. And in general, we're an in-market resource. So I'm on the end of the line. People know me in the Irish travel trade. It's quite close knit, and if they need anything, I am at the end of the line. On the media side, it really is all about securing quality coverage for New England. And again, we have a program of pitching to journalists. We find out the kind of things that they are interested in terms of their personal, the kind of things that they like to do, whether it's outdoors or culinary or whatever. And then we develop media fans based on those interests and try and get people, different journalists from different media to different parts of the 6 states of New England throughout the course of the year. And over the years, we've been very, very successful in getting quality coverage for New England. So looking at the high level view of the Irish market. So at the very top, looking at the economy. So I mean, it's a small, affluent country. And I'm happy to say we've had several years of really great economic growth. So last year was up at 10.7%. There was a big surge in exports on the anticipation of tariffs, and then it's moderating again in 2026. But it's all very, very positive. We're a very high income country, so the average income per person is over $100,000. So that's one of the highest in the world. And what that means is that people have a lot of disposable income for going on vacations. International priority is a top priority for Irish people. We live on an island that is approximately the same size as the state of Maine, with a population that is geographically the size of Maine and a population that is about the same as Massachusetts. So we're not a huge country, and it takes about 6 hours to get from the top to the bottom and 3 hours to get from east to west coast. So getting off the island is a real priority for Irish people. And we do tend to travel a lot. So we go, continental Europe for city breaks and at least one, if not two, 10 to 14-day trips every year. And the US is a very firm favorite in that. So this time last year, when we were doing our the same webinar last year, there were a lot of really stark forecasts from tourism economics and other different groups about the impact of the current administration or what they thought it would be on the Irish market. But I'm happy to say that it really hasn't panned out like that at all. 2025 was flat on 2024 to within actually a few plane loads of visitors. I think it's maybe 2,000-3,000 is all the difference that it is down, so not really significantly so. And just to put it in the context, 2024 was a really good year, so by extension 2025 was a really, really good year. So what does that tell us? It tells us that Irish consumers are not overly influenced by the politics. Anyone who knows Irish people knows that they won't be behind the door and giving you their opinion, especially in politics, but it's certainly not going to affect their ability to go on vacation and have a great experiences in the United States and in New England. Um, that is, in terms of the kind of numbers that we have every year, a huge 10% of the Irish population will actually visit the US every year. So about 500,000 people. So that puts us number 16th globally for visitation. So even though we're a small country, we tend to go a lot. And we're actually, in terms of frequency, we're the number one overseas country for visitation per capita. There are no other people in the world that go to the United States as much as Irish people per person. I know it was said earlier, but the euro US dollar exchange rate is, I'm not going to say it's good, but it's certainly not bad. And this time last year, it was down at $102 per a euro, which was very, very bad. It made everything very expensive. It's back up to about 116, 117 dollars per euro. So definitely better than it was before. And I think it's really important to point out that Irish people spend a lot more than the average visitor to the US. So because of the increased income that we have, we spend it when we're on vacation. So yeah. So just zooming into New England a little bit closer in terms of visitation, about 10% of everybody that goes from Ireland to the US goes to New England. So it's a very firm favorite destination. We've got great airlift. We've got 3 different airlines that serve New England from Ireland: Aer Lingus, Delta, and JetBlue. We've got incredible capacity on Dublin to Boston. We've got Shannon on the west coast of Ireland go to Boston, and we've also got Dublin to Hartford as well. So some great dynamics there for fly drives are possible. And that airlift is actually increasing. We know that Aer Lingus are actually going to go to a triple daily during the busy summertime on the Dublin to Boston route, and 10 times weekly on the Shannon to Boston. So ever increasing airlift to facilitate people getting into New England. In terms of the kind of people that we see going from Ireland to have their vacations in New England, I mean, look, it really is everybody, but ones that stand out that are particularly, strong cohort, upper middle income earners. So as we've said before, New England is not a cheap destination, and it's definitely for people who are looking for a more sophisticated experience. We find that empty nesters, so 55 plus, is probably the biggest cohort, and then families with teenage children, very important. Another thing that is really, an important fact is that, the combination of VFR with vacation, 74% of Irish visitors to the US will visit family and relatives when they go to the US. And I said that Ireland is an affluent country. It wasn't always that way, and we had very high levels of immigration from Ireland to the US, and particularly New England, in the 80s and right up into the 90s. So quite literally, and I'm not joking when I say this, everybody has an auntie or an uncle or a cousin living in New England, and they will get visited when we go there. So something that probably sets us off from other markets. So looking at the kind of activities that Irish people do when they're in market, shopping is a huge thing for Irish visitors, and it shows up again and again. And with the exchange rate, it's definitely something that is there. There's still value to be had in terms of shopping. But I think outdoors, it's one of those trends that we saw previous to the pandemic that was increasing in popularity. If anything, the pandemic accelerated that. And it is fair to say, that Irish people have never been healthier or more active and into fitness than ever before. And outdoors activities and experiential is one of those things that is growing and growing in popularity. So I think that and all of these things are things that our New England is very well geared up for. So good to see. Culture and history has always been a big thing for Irish people. Art galleries, museums, historical monuments, that forms a big part of what Irish people want to see when they're abroad in the US. And then culinary. I think, I'm happy to say that Ireland has a sophisticated culinary scene now. It wasn't always that way, but it definitely is that way now. And although it might not be the main reason why they'll visit a destination, it's certainly a huge factor in how much they will enjoy the experience of being there. And, as we know, New England has a great culinary scene, so very well geared up. Some things that are kind of emerging and in the pipeline, authenticity is, in terms of experience, is becoming more and more important for Irish visitors. So they're looking for real and unique experiences in destination. Um, the number one overseas destinations for Irish people are Spain, Portugal, France, Italy. And there's such a huge amount of over tourism in a lot of these places that people are coming back and feeling that they haven't really got an authentic experience. So it is something that they are looking for. Another thing to note is nostalgia travel. I don't know if any of you are aware, but the J1 program is very well utilized by Irish students, and it was great. Actually, last time I was in Boston during the summer, it was great. We came across so many J1 students, and it is a thing that and it's something that I've actually done myself. Is that you go, you're 20, 21, you go on this rite of passage J1 summer as a student, and then 20 years later, you bring the family back to revisit the place that you were. And obviously, you're earning that little bit more money. So nostalgia travel is an ongoing trend as well. So just some final remarks, just to close out. And I'm very conscious that if I go over my 10 minutes, Kerry will be on the next airplane over to beat me up. But I just had to say just a few things. I mean, number one, and I'll say this, is just stay wonderful, which is a little bit facetious, really. But, like the guys in Germany said, we're getting an awful lot of negative headlines about the US. But New Englanders, by and large, are friendly, hospitable, great people. And every time an international visitor comes over and experiences that warm welcome, it helps dispel all those negative headlines. So keep doing what you're doing. I'd also say, in terms of digital maturity, I mean, obviously, you want to have as much of an online presence as you can, so that you could be discoverable in searches, and even more importantly, in terms of AI. If it is really a trend that Irish people are using AI to develop their own itineraries, and if your digital maturity is not what it should be, you are effectively invisible and you'll be left out. So, if you can boost your online presences, if you have a product, ensure that it is bookable online. It is so important. And then media fans, which we touched on. I can't stress the importance of good media coverage to counter the negative stuff that we're seeing. We're actively sending out journalists to do experience all the incredible things that can be done in New England. And it's important to note that when you see, and I know this is the same for me and for my colleagues in the UK and my colleagues in Germany, the journalists we send over are, they've been vetted. There is a very clear return on investment. Wherever possible, businesses that support will, get coverage in the publications or the TV shows or whatever. So if you see any kind of a lead coming in, if you can in any way support it, note that it will, in terms of the return on investment, it will get back to you. So please do support. And it is the testimony of journalists is so much more powerful than any marketing or advertising that you can do, because it comes across as so much more genuine and hands-on. So that's it for me. I'm just going to close out by flashing my email address and phone number up on the screen. I'm very old school, so if anyone does want to reach out for a phone call and a chat, this has been just a very high level overview, but don't be a stranger. I'll be at Summit as well. Come over and have a chat. I'd love to tell you a little bit more. So thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Tony. I think I never need an excuse to go visit Ireland, so whatever. And B, I'm going to go visit every country because everybody's over today and I love you all and I'm just letting you do it. So with that, thank you, Tony. I really do appreciate it. And honestly, anybody who wants to join that next sales mission, it really is a wonderful opportunity to be a part of all these great conversations that we're all having. So then, last but certainly not least, I'd like to have Duncan and Caroline from TTM, who we have talked about this morning being the company that we've worked with abroad the absolute longest at Discover New England. So we're so appreciative for all their partnerships over the years and all the work we've been able to do with them. And it's a pleasure to have you guys chat this up with us. So take it away.
Thanks, Kerry, and it's equally a pleasure for us to work with you guys as well. It's been a great relationship, and we certainly love it, and we love the region as well. And myself and Caroline over the next 10 minutes are just going to basically run through sort of what we do, how the market is briefly. We've had a lot of stats today, so we'll try and stick away a little bit from the stats because I think we've all learned quite a bit from those. And then we're going to talk a little bit more towards the end about specific market trends and how you can get the best out of those, really. So a little bit about what we do. We are very similar to Ireland and I guess to Germany as well, in that we work with both travel agents, tour operators, airlines, the Visit USA Association. We are the face of Discover New England within the UK. We have just short of 8,500 travel agents in the UK. We have a mix of tour operators that sell B2B and B2C. All of this means there's lots of training that needs to be carried out. And then we need to do things in front of the consumer as well from a trade perspective. We talk to the consumer, that drives the interest of the tour operator or the travel agent, and the whole circle should then, by definition, get fulfilled. In addition, we do events and sales missions for when Kerry's over, and as Kerry's alluded to, there is a mission in June, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then we do a whole series of trade releases each month just to promote the different aspects of each of the states involved in the DNE and what they have to offer. So with that, I'm just going to pass on to Caroline to briefly cover what we do from a media perspective.
Yeah, I think you've definitely all got the hang of it now, and you can obviously look at the slide later on to just kind of see how we close the loop between your support, which, as Tony said, is absolutely vital, and then the return on investment that you get from the coverage. I will just give you one anecdote. We had a wonderful blogger come to stay in every state year before last. She's called Victoria Watts Kennedy. She's keen to come back again this fall with her family. She's a family blogger. The website is Bridges and Balloons. And I was talking to her at an event on Monday night, and she actually tracks all the direct bookings that happen from the links in her pieces. And she has booked almost 1.5 million room nights directly from her stories. So, media, people can think PR and media is a little bit, well, I don't know if, how on earth can I ever know if it really hit home? Well, I think that tells you as much as you need to know on that. So let's move on to the next slide.
So a little bit of a market overview, and I'm not going to dwell because we've had lots of numbers already, but just to say that, we do travel. The Brits are not political travellers. As Tony alluded to, and our colleagues in Germany alluded to, there are some negative headlines going on around in the press. But certainly the UK, we're not political travellers in that sense. We read them, but we just crack on. We want to travel. It's something that we've always done, and I think that's reflected in the fact that UK market is still up. So I think we just need to move on with that one. Last year that we were looking at 88 million overseas visits by UK consumers. This year it's risen to 92 million. So that's a 4 million increase in journeys that people are expected to make over the course of the next 12 months. We are still the top source market to the US behind Canada and Mexico. And we are the sixth largest economy in the world. Interest in North America continues to rise. As you can see, it's 1.6% in 2025, according to ABTA, and that appetite is continuing to grow. I won't dwell on the things that drive that because that's partly in the trends section a little bit later on. Okay, so just quickly moving on. We are staying longer. That's the big thing. We are staying now, not so much 14 days, but staying up to 18 nights in a destination. Bucket list trips and special occasions aren't on a bucket list now. They are. Let's do it now. Let's get on. Let's do those holidays that we want to do. And the research time is quite considerable. Some of the people looking at holidays, and we're doing consumer shows next week, they traditionally will have booked this year. So when we're talking to anybody next week, they'll be looking at 2026, if not 2027. So going back to what Michele was alluding to earlier about the earlier you can have your rates out, the earlier you can have it online and available to book, the better it's going to be because people are booking that much further out. Sustainable tourism continues to be very much a strong thing. And it's experiences that are driving what people want to do. We are, because of the nature of the age group that would traditionally travel maybe to New England, we will not necessarily focused on the summer months, which reinforces that graph at the beginning, which Michele had, that sort of shows that springtime is proving more popular. There's a lot more people who are in their 50s and into their 60s who have time and can travel in spring when it is off shoulder and don't have to work around school holidays in the same way. So I think it's very encouraging in that sense. Airlift out of the UK remains very, very strong. We have seen no reduction in services. We still have direct flights with British Airways, Delta, Virgin, American Airlines, JetBlue with some of their services and seasonal services. And Tony mentioned Aer Lingus before, and Aer Lingus is a really good opportunity for the regions in the UK. They actually have 14 connections from the UK through Dublin, and with pre-clearance for immigration in Dublin, it does make the whole process really smooth and really easy for people from the UK. So the airlift is excellent. It's not gone down at all. If anything, I can see it increasing personally. Little bit about the booking times. I alluded to fact when people are thinking about, but generally we are still booking 8 to 12 weeks before. There are still last minute bookings, late bookings within that period, but the majority are booking 8 to 12 weeks before. They are probably taking a little bit longer in researching and booking to make sure that they are getting the right package and that they are doing the right spending the money in the right direction. I've mentioned that the target audience is still 50 years upwards, but that works really well. And Flydrive is still incredibly popular. I'll hand over to Caroline now to talk a little bit more about media.
Okay, hopefully you're still with us. I'm very aware that we're massively over time, so I'm going to speed through this. So you can see some stats at the top of the page. I'm not going to read them all out. I will tell you that we had our first big media event of the year, which is similar to what Andreas was saying about Visit USA in Germany, and Tony in Ireland. Visit USA in the UK is enormous and ever growing. We're up to 220 members. We had our first media event on Monday night, and I'm delighted to tell you, so that's USA only focused. I'm delighted to tell you that we had 90 media attend. That's an absolute record, pre as well as post COVID. So definitely our media are not turning anti-USA in terms of their travel plans, far from it, and quite the opposite. I've had one genuine whinge from a journalist, and it wasn't political really. It was actually a problem about moaning about having to get a visa. Brand USA is asking now that that journalists definitely have a journalist visa when they travel, and he was just complaining about that. So, and he's not someone I've actually ever sent anywhere in 25 years of working with the USA, so I'm not too worried about him. Let's move on to the next slide, shall we? I want to get to the important stuff before we run out of time. Okay, so let's talk about some trends. I'm posting some of the 25 trends again, just because it's important to recognize that they don't just kind of come for you and then go again. They've got to trickle down. So first of all, the media will identify them. We'll start promoting against them in terms of sending out stories, getting information from you about what's exciting, what the media is looking for, and then that gets out to the readership, and then the readership goes to the tour operator, and the tour operator recognizes that they need to be selling this opportunity, and then hey presto, a trip is booked and we're all making lots of money. Lovely. So bibliophiles, definitely a big return we're seeing to literary tourism, and that's something that every state of New England can get very involved with. So please think about that one, research that one, look at how you can tell stories that are related to your region and that you can recognize them and connect them with published works, because we're looking to really return that. And that one obviously crosses over into set jetting as well. The TV and film stories are getting bigger and bigger, and the travel for that is hugely recognized now, and I'm sure you're all very, very aware of it. genius work by Connecticut to create their Hallmark movie trail. And we've had so much media of that and great pickup. So it does work. So please think about how you can connect yourself with any books, any poetry, any, even celebrities that live in the places. It doesn't have to be the actual film itself or the actual book. Just make those connections and get it out on your social media. Tell us about it. And also just tell the world. You can do that directly. You don't need to wait for us. You can get that out on your social channels. I'm not going to run through every single one of them because you can read them for yourself, but I will highlight again number 5, just moving back to what Michele was telling you earlier about the connection that we have with John View now, and this fantastic new packaging that's coming through with them for working with dark skies tourism. We're seeing that really, really growing. There's much more of that return to nature. And we're very excited about dark skies tourism. So please, if you've got opportunities there, let the team know about it, and let's be talking about it to the media and also to the tour operators. Winter and shoulder season travel, journalists are getting much more excited about traveling off peak. Reasons being many, but mostly to do with the fact that we do want to spend money and we do want to make the travel. And you've seen that we are, our spend numbers are still holding very strong, but we're really, really moving towards absolutely making sure we're getting the very best value for money. So if that means that, maybe if I wait and I don't go in August and I go in September, or I maybe go in late April, how would that work? So it's really good news for us because we're looking, the Brits are definitely looking for that shoulder season story. Gosh, that's hard to say. And so something to be very aware of. And I will tell you, we've just done a phenomenal trip with Boston, actually, with media to bring them out just before Christmas, because we're really seeing a return to shopping and just wanting to live in the dream for a while. And we had journalists out from Canada, the UK and Ireland, and we were all just walking around going, oh my God, we're actually in a Hallmark movie. We're actually in a Hallmark movie. And I keep referring to Hallmark movies because that was never something that we were actually seeing in the UK. But now we have channels, well, obviously Hallmark Channel itself, but they don't actually show here. But Channel 5, which is one of our big terrestrial channels, is actually showing constant Hallmark movies now. And Sky, which is our big cable, whatever they're called, satellite channel, is now dedicating channels to Christmas movies. So while you all guys already knew about that, that's only just coming to us in a big way, and we're really into it. So anything that you can relate back to winter travel is something that we're really looking for, especially as we don't really get snow very much anymore. We just get rubbishy rain. So please bear those in mind. Sorry, I'm going on. Let's move on. Right, and the big ones for next year, no posting. This is a new social media movement that we're really seeing, which is people with their fatigue of their phones, putting them down while they're actually on their trips, rather than actually constantly posting pictures of themselves. They're not doing it so much anymore. There's a huge drop-off for Gen Z and Gen A and the millennials, that actually what they're doing is they're posting reels when they get home, rather than constantly standing in front of themselves. So the whole Instagram kind of instant images of themselves is not really happening so much anymore. It's more delayed. But it's also, that means more thought through. And when they do produce something, it actually looks like it's been produced. So it's a better representation of their trip, but it's not kind of instant so much anymore. So think about that in terms of how you can use that with your properties and with your destinations, as to how you can make yourselves really look good. That they've got more time to do it now. It's not a snap and move on. And also they're looking to be more influenced by professional influencers rather than their friends showing pictures themselves, pulling a fish face in front of the pool. That's not really what we're looking for anymore. So the no posting thing means that everything is better produced but coming out later. Luxury travel, well, you know what that is, but we are definitely moving back to that. As I said, we are still investing in our trip, but we want better value for it.
And
the classic Americana, now this is the big one. Oh, go on, Duncan.
Quickly on that, I spoke to a tour operator yesterday. They are 18% up on luxury travel arrangements, and their average booking price is £25,000.
Can you quickly explain what luxury product is that they have up, and how New England fits in with that?
So they're looking at the higher end properties. They'll be looking at flying premium class. They'll be looking at then maybe doing limousine transfers rather than hiring a car. Or they'll start with a really high end at the beginning at the hotel, let's say in Boston or something, and then they'll do high end hotels all the way throughout. Some might take a limo on certain places. They'll spend the money on making sure they've got a really nice convertible. So it's all the little things, and then they want to spend, they want to eat out, but they want to eat out in some standard level restaurants, but they also want the really high end level restaurants where they get the full experience as well. So it's a mix of things.
Yeah, it's a very thought through kind of traveling now. So, I might hold back one day, but then really splurge the next because we're going to go where there's that restaurant. So let's take it easy today and just eat a sandwich from the general store. But tomorrow we're going to spend in this big restaurant and we're really going to go for it. So we are definitely not holding back right now, but we are being thoughtful about where we're spending that big money. So it's great to see it coming back, and it's great to see people really investing in it, but they are doing it mindfully. So just think about how you want to sell that in terms of if you've got product, if you're perhaps you're an inn and you think, well, let's do this, we'll put on a special menu for one night only, then that's going to be the thing they're going to go for, if you see what I mean. So it's just a one to think through. And combine it with this new one, Classic Americana, which we're absolutely, I think Tony and Andreas mentioned as well, is immersive travel is the key term for 2026. Immersive. We want to be Americans. We want to be New Englanders. We want to be Mainers. We want to be Portlanders. We want to actually feel what it is to live there. So we're really looking for those kind of deep dive experiences. That doesn't mean we're going to put the vacuum cleaner around for you and you're in because we've got those at home. I'm sorry. It's got to be very, very specific to the area, specific to the space, specific to the activity. But we want to do it full on. Even if that means going to the supermarket with you, if you're an innkeeper, before we then do a cooking class with you. We don't just want the cooking class. We want to know where to forage for the product or, buy the product in the supermarket. We want to visit places where we cannot get that thing at home. So really, please think about that. It's a really, really key one and one that doesn't cost anyone any money. And then I'm just going to skip down to slow travel because our train obsession is going from strength to strength. It's huge. So if you live anywhere near a train station, that's a big deal for us and we want to talk about it. Sorry, move on. Okay, big ones to watch. Sports tourism is huge in the UK now and growing like crazy. We have 3 NFL games now in the UK, league NFL games. We have league basketball games. Baseball is coming. There was a big activation in Trafalgar Square in London last summer for baseball. We're obsessed with ice hockey. These are all on our mainstream TV now, which they never were before. Also, Premiership games are being played. Premiership is our key soccer. That's being played over there. I'll talk about FIFA in a minute. Formula One, massive sport for us in the UK. And obviously you have Formula One in the US now. So bank in on any of those things with NASCAR that you actually have in New England. So connect that with, with those fans. Racecations is a new one, another horrible term. I'm sorry, I apologize, it's not mine, but it's a big deal. People wanting to run in marathons now. We're wanting to take part in long races. We're willing to pay for it. To take part in the New York Marathon is $735, and we will pay for it. We want to run the world. And you're talking about Gen Z, millennials, and Gen Xers. Not me, but some. And they're spending a hell of a lot of money, and we've got dedicated tour operators now for that, and the journalists really want to write about it. So if you've got a mad kind of, Tough Mudder or any of those kind of runs, hikes, those kind of competitive things that people can take part in from overseas, then they want to hear about it. Again, that's a great one for your socials. Post on your socials about it. Finally, the soccer World Cup 26. Yes. we have got the Scottish are going completely bananas about it. They haven't been in the World Cup for 28 years. They're very overexcited. Is it Barhead? Yeah, Barhead, Duncan, that just had their biggest booking day ever. The day after Scotland was the day after they confirmed where Scotland was going to play. Their biggest Boston booking day ever. They are coming.
And I would say it's not just Boston. New England's already benefiting from that, I think, because I've already seen pieces written in the BBC web pages about people who are planning the trip. They're staying up in different parts of New England because it's just as easy to get to the Gillette Stadium as it is from a major city. So I think the whole area will benefit considerably from that. And I think it'll be a case of there'll be groups of Scots and English who will come for the game and do other things, and there'll be people who are there on holiday or plan a holiday and will fit the game or watching the game in a sports bar, not necessarily at the stadium, but will be in a sports bar in that part of the world.
Yeah, media is screaming for stories about what's going on in New England. You know, the 250th is a big deal, of course it is, but actually what we're looking at is telling stories that will keep people coming back rather than going, this is happening this one summer and then it's never going to happen again, which you would think was also the story with soccer. But what we're doing with soccer was we're talking about the wider sports and other activities that you can do in this amazing place where FIFA is going to happen. But the fans will definitely come, and they will drink a great deal, and they do not necessarily get on with each other. So I know that there was some talk about, oh gosh, it's going to be this wonderful coming together of the world and everybody's going to love each other and it's all going to be very happy and fabulous. No, it isn't. Certainly not. That's not how soccer fans behave. I'm sorry, it's just the truth. So, find your people, find your tribe, and focus on them. They're the ones that you want. But the Scots are going to be coming in droves. The England fans will be coming in droves, but they won't get on, so don't expect them to. Thank you.
The Scots do get on with everybody. They were great when they were in Germany the other year, but it's just
the English. We don't get with anyone.
That's fantastic.
One more slide, and then I'm going to skip through this really quickly about how you can get involved as partners for DNE. Obviously, we've got DNE Summit. We'll see you there. Caroline and I will. Media fans, get involved as much as you can with those because it's a great way of advertising the region. IPW in Fort Lauderdale will be there, as you guys will. So it's always a chance for us to catch up. Kerry mentioned the sales mission. Join us, make it even bigger, make it more fun. Let's really make something happen this year as we get to the regions and Ireland and Italy and Ireland and different parts of the UK. The joint marketing campaigns that we've got going on are great. And then Brand USA Week is in the Netherlands this year. They do a great job. But it'll be interesting to see WTM because it is UK maybe a little bit stronger in 2026. So just bear those things in mind and your messaging for those times of year. So we've got information that we can share with the trade and with PR and media around those times as well. And with that, we'll call it.
Fantastic. Thank you. Maybe just really quickly, we had a question about how long do we think that booking for FIFA for World Cup will be happening? Like we already know it's begun, but how close to actual events do you think the booking will continue? Or is that not really an easy answer? That's great.
Take it.
It started already. And it will continue right up. So if Scotland play the first game and they have a really good result, or England play the first game, then all of a sudden they'll be like, we're missing out, we should go. And people will then try and book. So there's no, in my opinion, certainly for the UK market, there's no definite answer to that. They've started booking already, they're planning things already. I think that will continue up until the point in which Scotland or England start going home. And the further they get into the tournament, will create trips right up to the very, very last minute. Based on what I've seen in the past, even people I know who aren't big football fans, the minute we start getting further in the tournament, become closet fans. They come out of the closet, you'll see them in the pub, and you've never seen them in the pub all year, but you'll see them in the pub. In the same way that the further we get in, they'll think, actually, you know what, this could be our only time. I'm booking some travel.
So that said, I totally agree.
Yeah, their fans. Go ahead, Caroline.
I was just going to say, I totally agree with what Duncan's saying, but bear in mind that the ticket prices are eye-watering compared to, I mean, they've always never been cheap, but this year they are eye-watering. And so the further you do get into the competition, that the prices are going, into the thousands and thousands. And so the corporates are going to eat that up. But that's okay. We just pitch to that market. That's where the luxury kicks in. And take advantage.
Yeah. And I think some will just want to be in, let's say, there's a semi-final in Boston or whatever. Some will just want to be in that city for that moment and the glow that goes on after a win and the buzz around a city afterwards.
Okay,
Yeah, and I'm just gonna chime in real quick. If you look at the dates for the England and Scotland games, many Boston hotels have already sold out. The few that still have rooms are going for $800, $900, even 1,000 plus. So it's really demand is there for those games in particular, and it's only gonna increase, even though a lot of these travelers are not gonna attend the game at the stadium, like Duncan mentioned. They just want to be part of it. Plus, Boston Fan Fest is going to be free for people to attend, so that's also going to be massive.
Perfect. And then just super fast, last question. Are we thinking that there's any small group travel, or is this really more individuals, more if you don't have an answer?
If you're talking about the UK, you're going to get a mix of both. There are specialist companies like MVP Travel who are already putting together small packages for anything from, 8 people upwards to about 10 or 20, maybe 25. So you're going to have a mix of that, along with, families who have just decided to take a punt and maybe come. And that family could be husband, wife, and 2 grown-up children. It could be a guy with his wife and their brothers or sisters, just may creating a group of 4 or something like that. It's a whole mix of things, I think.
Great.
From a UK perspective. I don't know about Ireland, Tony, or Germany.
Fantastic. Andreas, did you want to add a little bit to that?
Yeah, it's for us Germans, it's always kind of hard to get those tickets anyways. So this is pretty hard, and I think it's not as easy for them to just like spontaneously decide to come over. So certainly it really depends on how far we get within our group, and also like the quarterfinal where I'm really keeping my fingers crossed so that we play in Boston finally. I was a little sad when I saw the final draw, but at least our group is not as strong, so we have chances there. Nothing is guaranteed in such a tournament, but yeah. But it's like for us, it's always hard to retrieve tickets. But this is always kind of hard also for the travel trade for anyone, because yeah, whether it's NHL, whether it's NFL, this is it's just hard because the liability issue. But with the people just like spontaneously deciding to come there, I mean, there's certainly going to be people, even though they don't have tickets. But I think the share of these kinds of visitors or travelers is way lower than in the UK or in Scotland. I mean, I know they're going nuts about that. So this is not as much the case over here in Germany as it is over in Great Britain. Yeah.
Perfect. Tony, do you want the last word on that, and then we'll close this out?
I'll be honest, unfortunately, we're not qualified yet. So we've got playoffs in March, but even if we do qualify, our games are in Mexico and Atlanta. So unless we progress to the next stage, we're not going to get excited about games in Boston just right yet.
We'll be there, Tony. We'll be there.
Never say never.
Exactly.
Okay. Perfect.
Sorry, one tiny thing. Also bear in mind that, there's an awful lot of expats living in other parts of the US that are going to travel for this as well. So think about your domestic, outreach as well, because there's a lot of Brits living all over the US, of course. So they're going to want to get there, even if ours have filled up the planes already.
Yep. Yeah, good point. It definitely is a good point. So thank you all. I'm going to put us at an end now because we are officially 30 minutes long. I love all of the information that everyone has to give. And I will say the majority of the people have stayed with us for the audience. So, and just in the last few minutes that we start having more drop off. So for everyone who stuck it out, thank you so very much. Duncan, Caroline, Chelsea, Jonas, Tony, Anna, and Andreas, thank you so very much for presenting with us today and for imparting all this wonderful information. Michele, as always, your information for Discover New England is absolutely invaluable. And for everybody out there, if you have other questions that we did not get to answer, please reach out to me. I will facilitate it out to the correct people and we will get answers back. And last word, February 10th, is our next webinar with a company called WareSite, and it is Don't Get Left in the Dust, Learn How Digital Transformation Leads to Short-Term Savings and Long-Term Successes. And I think everybody has touched on that today. So I think it's a super important webinar to be hosting. And with that, thank you all so very much and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.